the sun barely rose over the jagged mountains of Aridia, a planet whose surface burned with shades of red and gold. The air was thin, the wind sharp, and the terrain unforgiving. Yet, among the rocky valleys and deserts of shifting sands, humans had built something extraordinary, a settlement that defied every expectation of survival. Dome-like structures rose from the ground, glowing faintly with energy fields that kept the harsh climate at bay. Machines hummed continuously, and pipelines stretched like veins, delivering water and nutrients to a growing population of colonists. At the center of this settlement stood the control hub, a tall metallic tower adorned with sensors and communication arrays. From here, Commander Alina Voss oversaw the daily operations. She was not just a leader, she was a symbol of what humans could endure, what they could invent, and what they could sustain. Her eyes scanned the holographic displays in front of her, showing every sector of the settlement. Energy levels were stable, life support systems functioning at maximum efficiency, and the population of Aridia's humans was holding steady. "Sector 7 reports minor dust accumulation," said a technician, his fingers flying over the console. "No system compromise, but the filtration units are running at 80 to 5% efficiency." Alina nodded. "Schedule full maintenance tonight. Keep the reserve units on standby. I want zero surprises." Her voice was calm, but it carried the weight of authority. Every human on Aridia depended on the machines functioning without pause. The slightest failure could cascade into disaster. Humans had not come to Aridia lightly. The planet was a test, deliberately chosen for its hostility. Before arriving, the Terran Council had sent probes, satellites, and automated factories to map the environment. Every reading told the same story. Only a species capable of relentless adaptation could thrive here. And yet, the aliens who monitored them from orbit remained skeptical. "They still don't believe we can maintain full operations every day," Alina said quietly to herself, thinking of the Alari observers. The Alari were a race of highly logical beings, creatures whose concept of human resilience seemed almost mythic. To them, no biological system could endure continuous stress for a full cycle of Aridia's solar year without failure. They didn't understand that humans had learned to work as one with machines, and with each other, in ways that defied alien logic. In the lower levels of the control hub, engineers worked tirelessly. Rows of maintenance robots scuttled along tracks, repairing and recalibrating systems. The humans themselves were meticulous, moving with precision, checking gauges and coordinating with the AI systems that monitored every sector. Every action was calculated, yet carried the warmth of intuition, something no alien algorithm could replicate. One young engineer, Kieran, paused to catch his breath. His palms were dusty, his hair stuck to his forehead, but his eyes were bright with pride. "We've kept the hydration cycles perfect for 60 Earth days straight," he said to his partner, Lyra. "No failures, not a single drop wasted." Lyra smiled, though exhaustion weighed on her. "That's human ingenuity for you. We're not just machines running on schedules, we think. We adapt. We invent." And that was the truth. The humans of Aridia had not merely learned to survive. They had created a system where survival and innovation were inseparable. Every human task was part of a larger cycle, designed to protect the settlement's life support network, from nutrient extraction to air recycling, from energy storage to structural maintenance. Every effort was synchronized. A single misstep could trigger system shutdowns, but humans had become masters of balance. Outside, the red wind swept across the valley, carrying fine dust that threatened to infiltrate the domes. Drone units were dispatched immediately, their shields glowing as they pushed against the storm. Sensors tracked the wind's path, predicting its intensity and potential hazards. On the surface, a team of specialists adjusted the reflective panels of the domes, ensuring minimal heat loss and optimal energy absorption. Alina observed all of this from the control hub, feeling a quiet satisfaction. Every day was a battle, every day a demonstration of human endurance and cleverness. She remembered the first landing on Iridia when the humans were just starting to build the settlement. Back then, the alien observers had been doubtful. They had calculated the humans' tools would fail under continuous operation, that fatigue and biological limits would make humans unreliable within weeks, but the humans had proven them wrong. Every challenge met, every system stabilized, and every human kept in perfect coordination was another quiet triumph over alien expectations. A sudden alert flashed on the main console. Alina leaned forward. "Explain. It's a minor structural anomaly in Dome 9, said the technician. Stress readings indicate potential material fatigue. Nothing critical yet. Alina's expression remained steady. Activate the reinforcement drones immediately. Shift maintenance crews. Preventative action, not reaction. We cannot risk downtime. Minutes later, in Dome 9, humans worked alongside drones, adjusting supports, reinforcing panels, and monitoring environmental conditions. Dust storms had eroded the outer layers of the dome, but the humans adapted in real time. Aelari observers watched silently from orbit, their calculations unable to account for the improvisation they were witnessing. Humans cannot maintain this pace, one Aelari analyst said to another, their voice tinged with disbelief. Their tools are being used beyond design limits. And yet they do, the other replied. They adjust. They repair. They survive. In the living quarters, children played amid carefully controlled gardens. These plants were part of the nutrient cycle, feeding the humans while also supporting air filtration. Adults taught the young ones not only science and engineering but also the philosophy of balance, how humans, machines, and environment were linked. Every generation learned that survival was not just about physical endurance, but about intelligence, creativity, and cooperation. By evening, the dust storm had passed. Dome 9 stood reinforced, the air circulation optimal, and the population safe. Humans shared a quiet meal, their conversations light, but filled with purpose. Every laugh, every story, every gesture of care was a part of the unspoken agreement. They would endure, innovate, and maintain their systems every day, no matter what Iridia threw at them. Alina looked out over the settlement, the red landscape glowing under the setting sun. She thought of the Aelari once again. Their skepticism would persist, but that did not matter. Humans did not need validation from aliens. They needed only to prove, through action and endurance, that their species could rise to any challenge. And as the night fell, the settlement's lights glimmered like stars fallen to the planet's surface. The machines hummed their eternal song, and the humans of Iridia slept lightly, ready to rise again, innovate again, and endure again. In their minds and in their systems, the unbroken cycle of survival continued, a cycle that no alien doubt, no hostile wind, and no planetary challenge could interrupt, because humans, the Aelari would soon realize, were capable of maintaining their tools and themselves every single day in ways that no other species had ever imagined. The morning on Iridia began quietly, deceptively calm. The settlement's domes glimmered under the weak sunlight, a fragile contrast to the harsh terrain surrounding them. Commander Alina Voss strode through the central hub, her boots echoing on the metal floors. Despite the previous day's dust storm, everything seemed in order. Machines hummed steadily, life support systems were stable, and the humans moved with disciplined efficiency. But calm, Alina knew, was often the prelude to challenge. Her intuition was confirmed when the central alert system blinked a warning across multiple displays. "Commander, we have readings from the northern ridge," said Lieutenant Rhine, pointing to a holographic map. "Seismic activity is increasing. There's a chance of a landslide near Dome 12. Alina's brow furrowed. Dome 12 housed critical water filtration units, and its failure could disrupt the entire settlement's balance. "Evacuate non-essential personnel from that sector immediately," she ordered. "Activate structural reinforcements and deploy the emergency drones. We maintain operations, no matter what." Within minutes, human engineers working alongside autonomous drones had established a perimeter. The drones scanned the terrain continuously, sending real-time data to the hub. Humans, equipped with sensors and exoskeletal suits to help with heavy lifting, began reinforcing the vulnerable areas. Every movement was deliberate, every decision informed by data, but also by intuition. "This ridge is less stable than our initial surveys suggested," Kieran said, reviewing the holographic terrain analysis. His voice was calm but carried a note of urgency. "We may need to redistribute energy to support the reinforcements." That could strain the northern energy grid. Alina nodded. "Do it. Risk is inevitable. We adapt. That is what humans do." The northern ridge trembled violently just as the team was halfway through their reinforcement work. Dust rose in thick clouds and panels shook under the tremor. But the humans held firm. Their hands guided drones, bolstered panels, and redirected energy flows in real time. What could have been disaster became a demonstration of calculated human persistence. In the observation deck above, the Alaraya watched in stunned silence. Their eyes, unblinking and analytical, recorded every adjustment. "They are redistributing energy in anticipation of collapse," One Eye Alari said. "Our models predicted failure within minutes, yet they continue. They anticipate." "That is the unpredictability of humans," another replied. "They do not simply react. They think, they improvise, and they persist. Logic cannot always predict them." Meanwhile, deep within the northern sector, Kieran and Lyra worked side by side. Their exosuits hissed as they adjusted the support struts, each movement precise and coordinated. Sweat trickled down their faces, mixing with the fine red dust coating everything. "I never imagined we'd manage this," Lyra said, tightening a support panel. "If the energy redistribution had failed, the entire dome could have collapsed. Yet here we are." "Humans thrive on challenges," Kieran replied, eyes scanning the tremors through his sensor displays. "We don't just survive. We find ways to keep systems running beyond design limits." Hours passed, and the tremors began to subside. Dome 12, though scarred by the stress, remained intact. Every panel, every support beam, every filtration unit continued to function. Humans had turned a potential catastrophe into another victory, proving once more that their ingenuity and resilience were unmatched. Back in the control hub, Alina reviewed the data. She allowed herself a brief smile. Not a single life lost. Not a single system offline. That is human endurance. But she knew the challenges were far from over. Aridia was unpredictable, and the planet's hostility would test them again. Humans had not only to maintain their machines, but also themselves, every day, without faltering. Fatigue, mental strain, and environmental hazards were constant threats. Yet, in every crisis, they found a way forward. As the humans celebrated their success, another alert flickered across the control panel. This one was subtler, a pattern in the energy grids that suggested interference. "Commander," said Lieutenant Wren, "we are detecting anomalies in the northern power sector. Fluctuations are minor, but unusual." Alina's eyes narrowed. "Could it be a system malfunction?" "It doesn't match any known error pattern," Wren said. "It appears almost deliberate." A chill ran through the hub. Deliberate interference suggested an external presence. Humans had prepared for dust storms, seismic events, and equipment failure. But deliberate sabotage or observation was a different challenge. Alina activated the long-range sensors, far above Aridia. Cloaked signals flickered intermittently. The Alari were observing more closely than ever. They were measuring not just survival, but human response to unpredictability. Humans had faced natural hazards. Now they faced scrutiny. "We cannot let external pressure compromise operations," Alina said firmly. "Full monitoring on all systems. Redundant backups active. Every human must be alert but calm. We adapt and endure, no matter the observer." The humans of Iridia adjusted seamlessly. Redundant energy circuits came online. Automated drones were deployed in anticipation of interference. Engineers performed double checks on every critical system, while supervisors coordinated across multiple sectors. Fatigue hung heavy in the air, but it did not weaken resolve. Kieran and Lyra returned to Dome 9, which had withstood the dust storm the previous day. They ran diagnostics on the energy conduits, ensuring that no fluctuation went unnoticed. "It's almost as if someone is testing us," Lyra said. "Maybe they are," Kieran replied. "But humans thrive when tested. Our minds, our coordination, our ingenuity, that's what keeps us alive when others would fail. Observation doesn't matter."
"Survival does."
The Alari, watching silently, continued to adjust their models. Their algorithms failed to account for the combination of human intuition and cooperation. The humans did not just follow protocols. They anticipated, improvised, and created new solutions on the fly. It was a dynamic system, living and evolving, unlike any purely logical framework the Alari had ever encountered. Night fell across Iridia, painting the domes with the soft glow of artificial lights. Humans rested in shifts, ensuring that critical systems were never unattended. Even in sleep, the settlement remained alive, machines humming, energy flowing, life support systems active. The planet's harshness continued outside, but inside the domes, humans demonstrated their greatest strength, the ability to maintain, adapt, and innovate continuously. Alina stood at the observation deck, looking at the faintly visible northern ridge. She reflected on the day's events, on Dome 12's survival, and on the subtle external interference. Humans had faced dust storms, landslides, and mechanical stress. They had endured and succeeded. Now, with unseen observers scrutinizing every decision, humans would continue to prove themselves, not with words, but with action. "This planet," she whispered, "tests every limit, and we meet every test." Somewhere above Iridia, the Ilari recorded the data. Their curiosity had grown into cautious respect. These humans, fragile by alien standards, were capable of maintaining their tools and systems every day, under pressure that would cripple other species. Their endurance, creativity, and unyielding spirit had transformed apparent weakness into strength. And deep within the domes, humans slept lightly, aware that tomorrow would bring new challenges. They had survived storms and tremors, protected every critical system, and adapted to unknown variables. Their resilience was not just physical, but intellectual, emotional, and strategic. Every day they proved that humans could operate continuously, without faltering, in a world that seemed determined to destroy them. Because for humans, failure was not an option. Survival was not a hope. It was a responsibility, a daily mission, and an unbroken cycle of endurance and ingenuity. And the Aelari would soon learn that observation alone could not predict the limits of humanity. The night deepened. Machines continued their ceaseless hum. Lights flickered against the red dust outside, and humans rested, ever ready to rise again. Iridia was harsh, unpredictable, and unforgiving, but humans were harder, smarter, and unstoppable. Tomorrow would test them further, and humans would rise to meet it. Dawn on Iridia brought no comfort. The red sun barely pierced the dense clouds that had gathered overnight, painting the jagged terrain in bruised shades of crimson and orange. Commander Alina Voss stood in the observation deck, scanning the horizon with her binocular display. A strange vibration ran through the ground, subtle but persistent, unlike the dust storms or tremors they had faced before. Lieutenant Rhine approached, eyes narrowed. "Commander, we're detecting unusual energy pulses beneath the western plateau. It's interfering with Dome 15's power grid." Alina's expression hardened. Unusual pulses? Could it be another Aelari test? Ryan shook his head. Unlikely. The readings are inconsistent, almost chaotic. It doesn't follow any known pattern, either natural or artificial. We may be dealing with something entirely new. Alina took a deep breath. Then we adapt. Prepare the survey drones. We'll analyze the source immediately. I want every team on standby for emergency response. The humans moved swiftly, their actions a mix of calculated precision and instinctive intuition. Survey drones lifted into the smoky sky, their sensors mapping the energy anomalies. Engineers in exosuits prepared reinforcement kits and portable power units, ready to deploy at a moment's notice. The settlement, always alive with humming machines and blinking panels, seemed to hold its collective breath. At Dome 15, Kieran and Lyra were already at work. The dome housed experimental nutrient synthesis units critical to human survival. If the energy pulses disrupted them, the colony could face shortages within days. "What do you make of these readings?" Lyra asked, adjusting her sensors. Kieran frowned. They're erratic, but they seem to have a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. But it's not biological. It's something else, something beneath the surface. The ground trembled beneath them as they spoke. A faint hum, deep and resonant, vibrated through the dome's foundations. The humans steadied themselves, hands gripping the support beams, eyes scanning for cracks or signs of structural stress. In the control hub, Alina watched the drone feeds with growing concern. The energy pulses weren't confined to the Western Plateau. They were spreading, subtle at first. Then, with increasing intensity, systems flickered briefly, lights dimmed, and the machines that had never failed showed signs of strain. "Activate emergency protocols," Alina ordered. "All backup power online. All maintenance drones deployed." Every human on Iridia must be ready. For hours, humans worked tirelessly. They climbed along the domes, reinforced structural panels, and recalibrated energy conduits. The energy pulses struck intermittently, unpredictable in strength and frequency. Yet every challenge was met with the same human determination and ingenuity that had defined the settlement since its founding. Above them, the Alari observers adjusted their sensors, their calculations faltering. Their earlier models had failed to predict the humans' ability to manage one stressor at a time. Now they faced a species that could handle multiple overlapping crises simultaneously, improvising solutions in real time. "They are adapting faster than any logical system can anticipate," one Aolari said, voice tinged with astonishment. "Their responses are not just reactionary, they are anticipatory." "They are remarkable," replied another. "We must continue observation. Their limits are unknown." Deep in the Western Plateau, Kieran discovered the source of the anomaly. Buried beneath the red sands was a network of crystalline formations, emitting pulses of energy that interfered with the colony's systems. These formations were natural, yet they had properties no human or alien technology had encountered before. The crystals resonated with the energy grids, causing minor disruptions that could escalate if unaddressed. "Commander," Kieran said via communicator, "we've located the source. Crystalline formations beneath the plateau. They're causing the pulses. I recommend stabilization measures and energy damping arrays immediately." Alina nodded. "Deploy the arrays. Begin stabilization. We cannot let this compromise the settlement." Engineers moved into position, placing damping arrays and recalibrating energy conduits. The crystals pulsed stronger, as if resisting the human efforts, yet the humans persisted. Their understanding of machines and materials allowed them to counteract the energy surges in real time. Lyra monitored Dome 15 as the pulses intensified. She adjusted the nutrient synthesizer's feedback loops, ensuring they continued operation despite the interference. Every human task was part of a synchronized effort to maintain life support, energy, and structural integrity. Hours passed, the struggle continuing with relentless intensity. Humans climbed, recalibrated, adjusted, and coordinated. Each person, though exhausted, contributed to the collective effort. Machines, designed for continuous operation, were guided by human intuition and oversight. Together, humans and machines formed a network of resilience that no natural or alien force had anticipated. Finally, the energy pulses began to subside. The damping arrays, combined with human adjustments, stabilized the crystalline network. But Dome 15 remained intact, Dome 12 continued to function, and every other system maintained its integrity. Humans had endured, adapted, and prevailed once again. In the control hub, Alina allowed herself a brief moment of relief. She reviewed the data, confirming that no lives had been lost and that all critical systems remained operational. Once more, humans proved their capacity to endure and innovate, she said softly. Kieran and Lyra returned to the settlement's central quarters, bodies tired but spirits elevated. "We just managed something that should have been impossible," Lyra said. Kieran nodded. "It wasn't impossible. It was human. We find solutions, even when the odds are stacked against us. That's what sets us apart." Outside, the Alari continued to observe silently. They had expected humans to fail, to falter under simultaneous crises, yet these fragile creatures had maintained their tools, their systems, and themselves through continuous adaptation. They had endured conditions that would have overwhelmed other species, combining intelligence, creativity, and perseverance in ways the aliens could barely comprehend. Back in the settlement, Alina gathered her key team for a debrief. "Today was more than survival," she began. "We encountered forces we could not predict, yet we did not falter. Every system we maintain, every adjustment we make, and every life we protect is a testament to human endurance. We are not defined by obstacles, but by our response to them." The humans nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. Every day on Iridia tested them beyond ordinary limits. Their endurance was not merely physical. It was intellectual, emotional, and strategic. The ability to maintain complex systems while facing unpredictable threats required constant vigilance, coordination, and ingenuity. As night fell, humans rotated through their shifts, ensuring no critical system was left unattended. Even in rest, the settlement remained alive, a continuous hum of machines, energy flows, and human oversight. Outside, Iridia's jagged terrain shimmered under the weak red moonlight, indifferent to the tiny colony that had carved life into its surface. Alina stood once again on the observation deck. Looking at the western plateau, the crystalline formations glimmered faintly, a reminder that Iridia's challenges were never truly over. "The planet will keep testing us," she whispered, "and we will rise to every test, not because we are flawless, but because we never stop." Humans slept lightly that night, aware that tomorrow would bring new trials. They had survived unpredictable energy pulses, stabilized critical systems, and maintained their tools without faltering. Their ingenuity, adaptability, and teamwork had once again proven their unmatched resilience. The Alari observers, floating silently above Iridia, recalculated their models. Logic alone could not predict human endurance. Observation revealed only part of the truth. Humans thrived in chaos, adapted to unforeseen challenges, and maintained their systems with unbroken determination. Their capabilities exceeded expectation, defying every assumption the aliens had held. And deep within the settlement, humans rested not out of complacency, but in preparation. Tomorrow would bring another challenge, another opportunity to demonstrate the HFY spirit, humanity's ability to endure, innovate, and overcome. Because on Iridia, no energy pulse, no unpredictable phenomenon, and no environmental hazard could break the humans. They were a species defined not by weakness, but by relentless adaptability, intelligence, and unyielding perseverance. The night passed quietly, though the ground still hummed faintly with the residual energy of the crystalline formations. Machines continued their eternal work, and humans, ever vigilant, prepared for another day of challenges. Iridia had tested them. Yet humans had risen higher than the planet's hostility, proving once again that their endurance, creativity, and unity were unmatched in the universe. Tomorrow would test them further, and humans would rise to meet it. Iridia's skies were darker than usual, swirling with thick, crimson clouds that blotted out the weak sun. The air grew heavy, carrying fine red dust that crept into every crevice. Commander Alina Voss stood at the observation deck, staring at the horizon. She could feel the subtle vibrations beneath the settlement. Something was coming, something bigger than the previous storms, tremors, or energy pulses. Lieutenant Rin approached, his face tight with concern. "Commander, sensors are detecting massive tectonic shifts across the western plateau. Dome 15 and 12 are at risk. If the shifts continue, we could see cascading failures across multiple sectors." Alina's eyes narrowed.
Then we prepare for the worst. Notify all sector leaders.
Every human, every machine must be ready. This will be the true test of our endurance and ingenuity. The settlement sprang into action. Humans moved through the corridors with purpose, donning exosuits and checking tools. Drones deployed across the ridges, scanning and reinforcing structures. Engineers coordinated with AI systems to redistribute power and monitor stress points across the domes. Every action, every decision was synchronized with precision, honed through months of constant adaptation. Kieran and Lyra were among the first at Dome 15, running diagnostics on the nutrient synthesizers.
"Commander's right,"
Kieran said, scanning the fluctuating energy levels.
"If these domes fail, the entire colony faces critical shortages."
"We have to stabilize them before the tectonic activity escalates further." Lyra adjusted the feedback loops on the systems, her fingers flying over the console. "We've handled storms and energy pulses, but this is bigger. These shifts could collapse structural supports simultaneously." Outside, the ground trembled violently. Dust rose like clouds of fire, and the jagged rocks along the western plateau quivered. Reinforcement drones shuttled materials to weak points, while humans manually stabilized panels and conduits, coordinating with each other to prevent cascading failures. Their movements were deliberate, yet fluid, every person anticipating the next hazard before it fully revealed itself. In the control hub, Alina monitored the global status of the settlement. Red zones blinked across the holographic displays. Areas of extreme stress, energy overload, and potential structural collapse. "Activate the contingency protocols," she commanded. "We maintain operations no matter what. Every system must stay online. No dome fails."
No human is lost. The humans responded with quiet determination.
In Dome 12, teams reinforced air filtration units, redistributing airflow to compensate for potential ruptures. In Dome 15, engineers stabilized nutrient syntheses with manual overrides, ensuring they would continue functioning even if the energy grids fluctuated beyond acceptable limits. Everywhere, humans worked alongside machines in a seamless collaboration that surpassed mere automation. Hours passed under relentless stress. The tectonic shifts increased in frequency and intensity, threatening to break the settlement apart. Yet the humans held fast. They adjusted, repaired, and coordinated, turning what should have been failure into demonstration after demonstration of human ingenuity. Kieran noticed a pattern in the tremors. "The shifts are not random," he said, tapping on his console. "They're radiating from a central point beneath the western plateau, where the crystalline formations are located. If we can stabilize that source, we can reduce the stress across the domes."
Alina made a decision instantly. "Then that is our target.
Deploy stabilization teams to the central formation. All backup arrays online. Every human capable of operating on the plateau must be there. Move, now." Humans assembled at the central crystalline formations. The ground vibrated under their boots, sending shivers through reinforced exosuits. Machines hissed and clicked as they interfaced with the crystals, attempting to dampen the energy pulses that were now feeding the tectonic instability. Humans guided drones, adjusted energy conduits, and synchronized efforts across multiple systems. The crystals pulsed violently, reacting as if aware of the human intervention. Sparks of energy leapt along the conduits, threatening to overload the stabilization arrays.
Kieran shouted over the noise. Increase feedback damping. Redistribute energy through secondary conduits.
Now! Lyra adjusted the arrays manually, rerouting energy while coordinating with the drones. Every movement carried risk. A single miscalculation could cascade into dome failures or power loss. Yet the humans persisted, their minds sharp despite exhaustion, their coordination flawless despite fatigue. Hours felt like minutes as humans, machines, and the planet itself collided in a tense, unpredictable dance.
Iridia's hostility tested every limit of endurance, but humans did not falter. They improvised new solutions in real time, recalibrated feedback loops on the fly, and reinforced structures with precision beyond what any algorithm could calculate.
Finally, the pulse of the crystals began to stabilize. The tectonic shifts slowed, the tremors lessened, and the domes, battered but intact, continued their operations. Dome 15 hummed steadily, nutrient synthesizers working flawlessly. Dome 12's air filtration remained perfect. Every system that had been at risk now operated within safe parameters. Humans cheered quietly, but not in triumph. They were exhausted, yet vigilant. Alina approached the team at the western plateau, her eyes scanning the stabilized crystals. "This is what humans do," she said. "We face what others call impossible. We endure. We adapt. And we survive." The Alari observers watching from orbit were silent for the first time in months. Their models, built to predict limits and failure points, had failed utterly. These humans, fragile by alien standards, had maintained systems continuously, faced unpredictable hazards, and adapted beyond expectation. They had endured when every prediction suggested they would collapse.
"They are extraordinary," one ILRE analyst finally said.
They maintain not only themselves but their entire settlement, even when the environment works against them. Every limit we calculated has been exceeded. "They are a living paradox," another replied. "Fragile yet indestructible. They think creatively, act instinctively, and endure tirelessly. Observation alone cannot capture their capability." Back in the settlement, humans rotated shifts, ensuring that critical systems remained online. Even in rest, life support machines, energy grids, and reinforcement arrays operated under constant human supervision. Iridia's hostility remained outside, but inside the domes, humans had created a world where survival was not only possible but secure, through intelligence, perseverance, and teamwork. Kieran and Lyra finally returned to the central hub, covered in dust and sweat, but smiling faintly. "We did it," Lyra said, her voice hoarse. "Yes," Kieran replied. "We maintained everything. Systems, domes, even the crystalline formations. Nothing failed. Humans just keep going. That's all there is to it." Alina gathered her leadership team for a debrief. Today, she said, "we faced the greatest challenge yet. Iridia tested every system, every human, every protocol we have. And we succeeded. Not because of luck, not because of superior design, but because of who we are. Humans endure, we innovate, and we do not fail when others expect us to." The team nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Every day on Iridia had taught them that survival was not just a matter of tools or technology. It was a matter of intellect, adaptability, and unbreakable spirit. As night fell, humans rested under the glow of the settlement lights. The ground still hummed faintly with residual energy, but the domes remained strong. The machines continued their work, and every human slept lightly, ready to rise again. The planet had tested them and failed to break them. Above, the Alari observed quietly, a new recognition forming among their kind. These humans, whom they had underestimated, were not simply survivors. They were innovators, adapters, and pioneers. Their ability to maintain life support systems, stabilize unpredictable hazards, and work in perfect coordination exceeded any calculation the aliens had ever conceived. One Aolari analyst whispered to another, "They are not only capable of surviving any planetary hostility, but of mastering it. They turn adversity into triumph." "They may redefine what it means to endure," replied the other. "This species is exceptional." Inside the settlement, humans continued their routines. Even after the planet's greatest challenge, no system was left unattended. Every dome, every nutrient synthesizer, every energy conduit remained in perfect operation. Humans had shown that they could maintain continuous functionality, no matter the environmental threat, no matter the stress on their tools. Alina stood once more at the observation deck, gazing at the stars faintly visible through the dusty sky. "Iridia will keep testing us," she murmured, "and we will rise to meet every test. We do not fail because we never stop trying." The humans of Iridia had reached a new level of achievement. They had survived dust storms, landslides, energy pulses, and tectonic upheaval. They had maintained life support and operational systems under impossible stress. They had adapted faster, acted smarter, and endured longer than anyone, human or alien, had predicted. And tomorrow, the planet would bring yet another challenge. But humans, as always, would rise to meet it, because this was what they did. Humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans persevered. And through that unbroken cycle, they had proven something far greater than survival. They had proven that no environment, no machine, and no prediction could limit their capabilities. And somewhere above Iridia, the Alari silently recorded the data, their astonishment growing. For the first time, they began to understand the truth. Humans were not merely survivors. Humans were masters of endurance, ingenuity, and adaptation, capable of maintaining their world and themselves under conditions that would break any other species. The morning sun rose slowly over Iridia, barely piercing the crimson clouds that still clung to the jagged horizon. The settlement, though battered by storms, energy pulses, and tectonic upheavals, stood firm. The domes glimmered like jewels against the harsh landscape, a testament to human ingenuity and endurance. Commander Alina Voss stood at the observation deck, watching the first rays illuminate the reinforced structures. It had been weeks since the energy pulses and tectonic shifts. Humans had not only survived, but had mastered the challenges, maintaining every system, every dome, every life support array without failure. The settlement's machines hummed a continuous rhythm, guided by human oversight and intuition. Every process, from nutrient synthesis to energy distribution, ran seamlessly, a living demonstration of human persistence. Lieutenant Rhine approached, his expression calm but filled with awe. "Commander, the readings from the Western Plateau are stable. The crystalline formations no longer threaten the settlement. Systems across all sectors are functioning perfectly." Alina nodded, allowing herself a rare moment of quiet pride. "It is not the machines alone that maintain our survival," she said softly. "It is the humans who guide them, who adapt and endure, who innovate beyond expectation. That is what makes us capable of mastering Iridia." Kieran and Lyra joined them, dust-streaked and exhausted, yet carrying the quiet satisfaction of triumph. "We've done it," Kieran said, glancing at the horizon. "Every system, every dome, every procedure, all intact. Humans can maintain what no one else thought possible." Lyra smiled faintly. "It's more than survival now. We've proven that we can operate continuously, under any stress, and still find solutions that even machines alone cannot calculate." The Alari observers orbiting silently above recorded every moment. Their calculations had failed repeatedly, yet here were the humans, fragile by alien standards, performing feats of endurance and intelligence that defied logic. They maintained life support systems, stabilized unpredictable environmental hazards, and coordinated flawlessly across a sprawling, complex settlement. The aliens' assumptions about limits, weakness, and failure had been shattered. They are exceptional, one Alari analyst said, voice low and measured. Every system maintained, every challenge met. They endure beyond prediction, adapt beyond expectation, and coordinate beyond our understanding. They are not merely survivors, they are masters. They redefine what it means to persist, another replied. Observation alone is insufficient. We must acknowledge their capabilities. Back in the settlement, the humans did not pause to celebrate. The daily routines continued. Systems were monitored, supplies checked, and minor adjustments made to improve efficiency. Every human understood that mastery was not a single achievement, but a continuous process, a cycle of vigilance, adaptation, and improvement. Alina walked through the corridors, observing her people at work. In the engineering sector, teams recalibrated energy conduits with quiet precision. In the nutrient labs, technicians adjusted synthesizers to optimize output. Children played in controlled gardens, learning the principles of balance, resilience, and cooperation. Every aspect of life on Iridia reflected human ingenuity, and every person contributed to the unbroken cycle of survival and mastery. Kieran approached Alina, pointing to a series of new energy stabilization arrays recently installed across the settlement. Commander, these arrays are more efficient than before.
Even if the tectonic activity resumes, we can maintain operations without interruption?
Alina studied the displays, impressed. Good work. Humans do not just respond to challenges. They improve their tools, enhance their processes, and ensure that nothing can break the cycle. That is our strength. Lyra joined them, carrying data on the settlement's life support systems. All metrics indicate peak efficiency. Oxygen levels, water distribution, nutrient cycles, energy output. Everything is operating at maximum capacity. Humans have optimized every system while surviving Iridia's hostility. The day progressed, and a quiet tension filled the settlement. Not fear, but a heightened awareness of achievement. Humans had faced every imaginable hazard the planet could present. Dust storms, tremors, energy interference, tectonic shifts, and the unpredictable behavior of crystalline formations. Each time they had adapted, maintained their tools, and protected themselves and their environment. They had surpassed every expectation, proving their resilience to themselves and to the Ilari watching silently from orbit. Alina gathered the leadership team in the central hub. We have reached a point few thought possible, she said. Iridia has tested us repeatedly, and we have maintained not only our survival, but the continuous operation of every system. We have proven that humans can endure, adapt, and innovate beyond any expectation. The team nodded, understanding the magnitude of their achievement. Months of coordinated effort, ingenuity, and unrelenting perseverance had led to this moment. Humans had transformed what seemed impossible into reality. Outside, the Aelari hovered above the settlement, their curiosity deepening into respect. They had observed countless species across galaxies. Yet humans represented something unique. Their ability to maintain continuous operations, adapt to unforeseen challenges, and work in perfect coordination had no parallel in Halian experience. They are extraordinary, one Aelari said again. We have underestimated them for too long. Their capabilities extend far beyond prediction. They are capable of mastering any environment, another replied. They maintain themselves and their tools continuously. They innovate in response to challenges, and their adaptability is limitless.
They are beyond our models. Inside the settlement, humans began recording their experiences, noting every lesson learned from Iridia's hazards.
These records would serve not only as guidance for future generations, but also as a testament to the human spirit, the ability to endure, innovate, and maintain mastery over themselves and their environment. Children were taught the principles of balance and resilience. Every lesson emphasized adaptation, cooperation, and vigilance. They learned that humans were not defined by physical strength alone, but by intelligence, creativity, and the ability to maintain systems under constant pressure. As the red sun dipped below the horizon, Alina stood once more at the observation deck. The settlement lights glimmered softly, reflecting the glow of the planet's surface. The domes, the machines, and the humans within them were united in purpose and achievement. Humans endure, she whispered. Humans adapt. Humans persist. And through that persistence, we leave a legacy, not just for ourselves, but for every generation to come. Kieran approached, placing a hand on her shoulder. Commander, the Alari have been recording everything. I think they finally understand. They've seen what humans are capable of. Alina smiled faintly. They have observed, yes, but humans do not perform for approval. We do this because it is who we are. Our survival, our mastery, and our ingenuity define us. Recognition is secondary. Lyra joined them, adding quietly, Yet the fact that they respect us now, it's proof that we can achieve the impossible. We've proven that humans can maintain every system, survive every challenge, and thrive where others would fail. As night fell, the settlement remained alive with quiet activity. Humans rotated shifts, monitored systems, and ensured that no critical process was left unattended. The machines hummed in harmony with human oversight, reflecting a partnership that had allowed the colony to endure, thrive, and master Aridia. Above, the Alari silently adjusted their models. For the first time, they acknowledged openly that humans could not be predicted, underestimated, or constrained by conventional logic. These fragile creatures had demonstrated an unparalleled combination of endurance, intelligence, and adaptability. They were more than survivors. They were pioneers, innovators, and masters of their environment. In the quiet of the night, Alina returned to her quarters. She reflected on the journey that had brought humans to this point. They had faced unimaginable hazards and emerged stronger each time. They had maintained every system, protected every life, and optimized every process. Aridia had tested them endlessly, yet humans had proven that there was no limit to their endurance and ingenuity. And tomorrow, as it always would, Aridia would bring new challenges, yet humans, as always, would rise to meet them. Because humans were not defined by what they could not endure. They were defined by what they could achieve. And the settlement on Aridia, glowing softly under the night sky, was proof. Every dome, every system, every human within it reflected a species that could endure, adapt, and thrive in the most hostile environment imaginable. The Alari, watching silently from above, understood at last. Humans had not only survived, they had mastered. They had demonstrated that endurance, creativity, and teamwork could achieve what no prediction or logic could anticipate. Humans were a species that would persist, innovate, and thrive, unbroken, unyielding, and unparalleled. And so the cycle continued. Humans maintained their tools, their systems, and themselves. They adapted, innovated, and endured. Aridia, harsh and unforgiving, had become a testament to human capability, a world shaped, stabilized, and mastered by the unrelenting spirit of humanity. As the red sun disappeared and the artificial lights of the settlement glimmered against the darkened sky, Alina looked out once more. A quiet thought passed through her mind. Humans endure not because it is easy, but because it is who they are. And in that endurance, they had left a legacy, one that would inspire every generation to come on Aridia and beyond.